Hi, welcome to The Tread. My name is Dallas and I'm the parent of two autistic boys, Ash and Jet. Today I'm going to talk to you about why we use Proloquo2go with our son Ash. We call it Prolo because that's easier to say. So let's start briefly at the beginning. Ash is non-verbal, which means he can't talk. He has a few approximations of words, but not enough to get his message across. He also uses a few milestones or keyword signs. He will tap on his chest for I want, which is the variation of a milestone sign for more. He'll also nod his fist up and down, which is the sign for yes. When Ash was younger, he would let you know what he wanted by grabbing your hand and leading you to it. This, however, was fairly limiting. You then had to try and guess exactly what it was, which wasn't always easy. He became increasingly frustrated because we didn't seem to understand what he was trying to show us. For a brief period, we used the PEX system. If Ash wanted something, he would hand us a laminated card with the corresponding picture on it, and then we would give him the item. This became frustrating for us because Ash liked to chew and destroy the laminated cards, so I was always printing and laminating more. There were also times when I couldn't find the card I needed because it had either been destroyed or it was in another room. As Ash got older, his awareness of the world and what he wanted and didn't want increased, but unfortunately his ability to communicate just couldn't keep up. He became increasingly frustrated and started to bite his hand. He also became aggressive towards others when they didn't understand what he was trying to communicate. We tried many things to stop this behaviour, but in the end our speech therapist told us that the frustration and biting was not going to decrease until Ash could learn to communicate more effectively. It was really hard for us to watch him lash out at himself and not know how to help him. Then one of our therapists suggested we look into Prolo on the iPad, so we did. Then we spoke to our speech therapist and she helped us to set it up. Ash uses the Prolo so he can talk to us. He can make requests, tell us when something hurts, and answer yes or no questions. It really has been a game changer for our family. We use the Prolo to constantly model language for him. We will use it to talk rather than talking out loud. This is for two reasons. Firstly, he can become really overwhelmed by all the sensory input in his environment. For example, noise, lots of visuals, people, and he just finds it really difficult to process what we are saying. On the Prolo, however, when we type a sentence, it stays there and gives him that extra time to process what we're trying to communicate to him. The second reason is that he's a lot more likely to use it if he sees us using it when we are talking to him.
Do you want your book? Do you want your book?
Ah!
There. I can. I can Disney book.
Yeah. When a child is learning to speak, they learn by watching and listening to us as we constantly model language to them. The same goes when a child is learning to use an AAC device. By constantly modelling language for them on the Prolo, we are showing them how to communicate using the device. Be patient, be patient, be patient. The first piece of advice I want to give you is that it does take time, but it's worth it. Ash still bites his hand a lot when he's frustrated or excited, but it's a lot less than it used to be. He's also less aggressive towards others. I can't begin to imagine how hard it must be not to be able to communicate something straight away. I can see why Ash and other autistic children use physical behaviour to get their message across. Our son's ability to communicate using Prolo has improved a lot over the last 8 years.
Can. Cracker. I can cracker.
Can I have?
Yes.
Can I have?
Can. Get. Have. Can I have cracker? Yes. Yes.
Which one?
He's happier, and it's gone a long way in reducing his frustrations and given him a say in things that relate to him. He still gets frustrated with people, but it's a lot less than it used to be. We all have bad days, and that affects how we communicate with other people. We might feel grumpy or narky, or we just don't want to be bothered. The same goes for Ash. He just hasn't learned how to communicate it yet. It's a work in progress. I'll be honest and say that there were many days when we felt like giving up or just not used it with him. Schools have not always been equipped in using it or even seen its potential. For a while there, he would just stim on it, repeating the same words over and over and over again. We had some good days where we were able to use it functionally, and other days where we just forgot. Over time, with practice and speech therapy, we were able to see its potential and were driven to use it as much as possible. But it's when we see a sentence that's not just "I want iPad" or "I want cracker" that we are encouraged to keep using it, to keep modelling. For example, he once typed, "I can thanks," and then gave me a big hug. Is that his way of saying "I love you" or "I appreciate you"? Or another time he typed "I Alex" at the time she was on a sleepover. Was that his way of saying, "Where is she? I miss her"? So it's been about 8 years that we've been using the Prolo with Ashley. So yeah, it is hard work and it does take time. But it's so worth it for your child to be able to communicate to you and eventually others outside your family. When a child is learning to speak, they learn by watching and listening to us. We adjust how we talk. We use less words. We then gradually add more as time goes on and they start to talk more. We usually don't speak to them in full sentences, and neither do we expect them to answer us back in full sentences. The same concept should be applied when we're teaching a child how to use a communication device. Just because they know how to use an iPad doesn't mean they will automatically be able to use a communication app in a functional way. So we adjust how we talk to them. We use shorter sentences. I go, you want, and then over time as they start to add more words, so then we can use more words in our sentences. So this happens in the form of modelling, using it ourselves in everyday life and conversations to show them how to use it in the same way. Using it to speak for us instead of saying everything out loud. It takes a bit of practice at first and may seem a bit strange, but you'll get the hang of it. We try to use the Prolo to ask a question. Are you hungry? Or we might use it to tell them how we're feeling. I am hungry. And we also use it to make observations. This is delicious. Also, it doesn't need to be full or completely correct sentences. I might model put in rather than put the cereal in the bowl. It all depends where your child is at with their language, and your speech therapist can help with that. Using the Prolo reduces both our son's frustration and ours. We feel that he knows what he wants most of the time. He just struggles in getting the information across to us. We find the more we use the Prolo and begin to understand what he's trying to tell us, the less frustrated he is. He's then able to move forward in many situations rather than becoming aggressive. He still protests or has a tantrum when the answer to his request is not a yes. But it's a lot less serious than it could have been had he not learned how to use the Prolo. Over the years, trying to work out what our son is attempting to communicate to us has been really frustrating. We often miss the cues he gives us that something is wrong. Now if he comes to us and points to what he wants or leads us there, we will say to him, "Where's your Prolo? Talk to us." It's important not just to say, "What do you want?" so that he sees that it's more than just a requesting tool, but something he can use to communicate many different things. The developers of Prolo are assistiveware, and they have some great resources on their website to show you how to use Prolo in everyday situations. If you have a child that is non-verbal or has other speech difficulties, I would recommend having a look on the Assisted Wear website and then speak to your speech therapist about how you can set up a communication device for your child. Being able to communicate is a human right and can have a big impact on their future. To those of you who have tried or are trying to communicate to your child using the Prolo and you're struggling, I would say don't give up. I'm so glad I didn't. Thanks for watching this video. Please feel free to make a comment below or visit the Treads Facebook page.